16 June 2020, and I'm joined by Mr. Tinashe Jonas from Ideal Zimbabwe. How are you, sir?
I'm very fine, and you say, Mr. Gambakwe.
Thank you very much. Today we're going to be looking at the reasons why Mnangagwa had to call for a national day of prayer. What are your views on this call?
My views, number one, as the head of state, is a human being and an ordinary citizen like anyone. Obviously, spirituality offers comfort, empowerment, and strength. Secondly, it's a call for the whole nation to rally behind him. It's a call for the whole country to forgive him, because he said also forgive our sins. He's a human being who can make a political or economic or social or business errors. So it's also a call for forgiveness. But the most importantly, it's a call that our country is not in a good state. It's also a confession that our country is not in a good state. And then it becomes then an invitation to every citizen, a progressive citizen, to come and play their part in driving our country to where we want it to be.
Okay, so if a president is calling for a national day of prayer, does this mean everything else has failed?
To say everything else has failed, it won't be a correct term, but it means, before COVID-19, our country was undergoing, obviously, we should admit that the socio-economic and political landscape was in bad shape. And then now compounded by the COVID-19, seriously, things are not good in our country, and everyone must admit that.
Okay, then we saw the responses. Many people did not feel that Mnangagwa is the right person to call for a day of prayer. We saw Nkosana Moyo, Apostle Chiwenga, a lot of people that I can mention, Noah Manyika, many people, the opposition MDC, everyone came out and said Mnangagwa is not the right person to call for a day of prayer. He has not done enough to deserve people to come and gather around him. What do you say about that?
I'm always talking about the polarization, the hatred in our country. Our opposition, we don't know the role of opposition. In our country, no one is qualified to call for a prayer or to call for, you don't need to go through qualifications and the vetting or analysis for you to call. God is for everyone. Now, but because we have got the Apostle Chiwenga, we are not shocked. He's the only righteous man in Zimbabwe. According to his mind, he's the only pure person who is going to heaven, and he has got his chair in heaven is already made. We are very polarized. What is Noah Manyika doing to better Zimbabwe? What is Nkosana Moyo doing currently to help the suffering Zimbabweans, to help with the COVID-19? Nothing. Our opposition, they are only heard when they are opposing the president. We oppose the president day in, day out, without proffering any solutions to the problems. In our country, every opposition leader is condemning ZANU-PF administration and condemning the government and giving the meaning that the country can only be okay when I'm in power. We are saying we don't want a person who is voted for on promises. We want a person who is voted on what you are doing. True leadership must rise now and help people, not to condemn the one who is there when they are also in power, who is going to support them.
Okay, but as Mnangagwa himself admitted that he has failed, because that is the first step.
Thank you. What I can say is that I once said before in our previous interview, that the victory of Zimbabwe must be collective. The failure of the country must be collective. Of course, as a head of state, he must the buck starts and end with him. But what I'm saying is, we should ask ourselves individually, as citizens and as opposition leaders, as churches and everything, what are we doing? Because the church leaders were there to help him. Did we see any opposition leaders around? No. They stayed away. Why? Because they want him to fail so that they think they can wake up in power. You don't wake up in power by default.
Okay, but let's look at many prominent men of God, yes, big churches in Zimbabwe, without mentioning them. They did not attend. Opposition figures, they did not attend. Is Mnangagwa now isolated? What is happening?
Okay, of course, when people they don't attend, we don't know their reasons. But you know, obviously, because if I talk on behalf of them, it will be called speculation. But we really agree that in our country there's a narrative that when you attend such wherever the government is, you are called a ZANU-PF project. And you remember the opposition alliance created their own day of celebration, and they called it anti-looting day, just to counter the government's position. And Comrade Noah Manyika, who is silent every day, he only made a video to support the Chamisa alliance, of which we know that he always does that in the absence of selling a product from his own party. So, I mean, people are always buying two narratives, government narrative or MDC narrative, and everyone else is lost in transition.
Okay, but whose responsibility is it to bring Zimbabweans together? Is it not Mnangagwa who should be doing more to bring Zimbabweans together?
Okay. The moment we point the fingers, it means everyone else in the country must not do anything. Everyone else must sit down and say to ED, you are the president, you won the election, fix the economy, fix the unity, fix everything. A leader must get support from every sector of the country. If surely we want to witness him fail, he would fail. And the failure of the government is only felt in our pain economically, in our pain socially, and whatever aspect of life. So if we want to celebrate the failure of the government, we want to celebrate, it means our pain. In diaspora, it means the pain within the country. So we are actually, it's suicidal to wait for the government to fail, because who else is going to revive it? Because the government is in power. I mean, to me, we need to rise as Zimbabweans and forget about our differences. We have been pointing fingers for so long, but I think this is the time to unite.
Okay, let's now wrap it up. Did Zimbabweans miss an opportunity yesterday to work together?
A big one, because the ED we know, we are afraid of. The ED that many people are buying the narrative to hate him. To me, ED has softened up. ED is extending his hands to everyone. But people are preoccupied with the narrative of opposition, MDC, alliance, of hating, of not seeing that, of not seeing the repenting or the repentant ED. If the president is saying to people, forgive our sins, and what more must we expect from him? Do we expect him to walk naked as a sign that he is repentant? So I think Zimbabweans, we expect, let's say if we love Dr. Kupe, if we love Chamisa to be a president, hating Mnangagwa or isolating him doesn't make Chamisa or Dr. Kupe or whoever the president in the next hour. We must work together, because whatever leader we want to take over now, that leader would also want the support of the nation. So if the culture of hatred is dominating, nothing would come out.
Okay. As a follow-up, Mr. Jonas, what should be done now? Mnangagwa is softened up, but the rest of the country is still seeing him as someone who is not repentant. What should be done? Should Mnangagwa make the first move, or should the people make the first move? What do we do next as Zimbabweans?
ED has made several moves. He created Pollard. Now is the National Day of Prayer. Nothing binds people together than prayer or a word of God. Considering our country is a Christian country, so Pollard platform was the first one, and then the prayer or God, the word of God, must be resonating across the country. So the ED has made several moves. The arrest of girls is on record. The girls, the stage managed the abduction. The girls were never abducted, and evidence is there. So if people are saying why national prayer when the girls are persecuted, the girls were using the transactions, eco cash, videos are there, them buying hot wings, there's all evidence. So let's not mix the issues here. The girls, they were never abducted. I'm saying that on record.
Okay. Mr. Tinashe Jonas, I want to keep this short for our WhatsApp audience. Is there anything else you want to say before we close?
Let's stop broadcasting hatred. This is the time that we should forgive our president. He is asking for forgiveness. Personally, I forgive him, and he also forgave me maybe 2 weeks ago. I think Zimbabweans must swallow hatred, must swallow their pride or everything. We need to forgive one another this time. And this is the moment. And we need to work together with the government, with all other opposition political parties, everything. Otherwise, the country is going down. And things are going to get worse. And it's not good for everyone.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Tinashe Jonas. You've said that President Mnangagwa is softened up. Zimbabweans should forgive him and try to work together with him so that Zimbabwe can get better. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much.